And it also seems that once you've got your house or houses and you can go on your nice holidays, what more do you want, really? Like, what do you need that extra money for?
I would love to know what you need the extra money for. You need it to impress your rich friends.
And so what do you think then of this idea that money corrupts, and if you earn a lot of money, at some point you're going to be evil and selfish and not care about other people?
Well, there's a lot of evidence for that. I mean, look at the joy and abandon with which Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg have jumped into fascism. They're completely happy to be there. In fact, they're quite proud, it seems to me. So, but on the other hand, there are rich people who don't do that. You don't hear about the good ones.
And what do you think of the argument that we don't need to tax rich people more because they can use their money to give away to charitable causes or be beneficiaries?
It's absolute bollocks. The rich give away a smaller proportion of their money than the poor do. You find that I think well, I don't actually know, I don't remember the figures on this, but poor people, as a proportion of the money they earn, give away much more than rich people do. Philanthropy is something that people do to make themselves feel they have an alibi for being wealthy.
And I guess also if we had enough money to fund public services properly, we would need less philanthropy.
Exactly. Philanthropy is a very poor way of deciding how the money is distributed. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be philanthropic. I'm very happy that they are. I'm a philanthropist myself, I suppose. But, you know, the important thing is that you support your country or your city, because they know the overall picture. They want to distribute the wealth. Who would give money to unpopular or not apparently important causes like keeping the roads in order? The kinds of things that don't get funded are actually some of the most important things, but they're not glamorous things.
So if capitalism leads to inequality, exploitation, stress, environmental destruction, and it's not compatible with democracy, why should we keep it at all inside the social democracies? So the usual answer would be like, because capitalism creates innovation, jobs, consumer choice. But so did Yugoslavia. There was no unemployment. There were jobs, choice. Today we are drowning in products that we don't really need, like schnick-schnack, we say in Germany. But essential stuff like housing or healthcare and time are luxuries in capitalism that not everyone can afford. Innovation in capitalism, it's often funded by the public and then privatized for corporate profit. So the real reason we still keep capitalism, even in social democracy, is that we just haven't figured out a full replacement that's democratic, efficient, globally coordinated. And also markets, when they're regulated, they can be useful tools, especially for small-scale production, entrepreneurship. In theory, we could live without capitalism, but capitalism is very resilient and well defended by media, elites, institutions, habits. And fixing capitalism is more realistic than the revolution and getting rid of it. And how can we reform it? How can we fix it? With social democracy. So social democracy keeps capitalism, but under strict rules. So because when left alone, capitalism becomes a monster. It kills democracy. It creates billionaires and beggars. It destroys the planet. So socialism tries to protect people, but when it centralizes everything, it ends up controlling people instead. So the best answer is to use capitalism as a tool, not a religion. So we have to regulate it, and the rich should be taxed instead of the poor. So we can make capitalism serve the people and not enslave us. Some thinkers like Yanis Varoufakis, I don't know his last name, he and some people who think like him do envision some post-capitalist models that keep markets but remove the profit motive and replace private ownership with cooperative. So in theory, a post-capitalist social democracy could be based on worker-owned businesses instead of shareholder corporations, and they do already exist. For example, the supermarket chain that I shop in here in Spain is a cooperativa, Consum. It's not owned by shareholders trying to extract profit. It's owned by the people who work there and who shop there. And there are many worker-owned cooperatives like this in different countries, but we haven't yet seen such a system scale successful. They're still experimental and vulnerable to global capitalist pressure. So we have to keep the monster inside a cage, inside a democratic cage. The US is a good example of what happens when capitalism breaks out of its cage and starts killing democracy from the inside. So no matter what system we have a big problem that might be behind a big chunk of problems that we have on this planet. Elon Musk supposedly said that empathy is an ultimate weakness of human civilization. And he's a part of the new ruling neoliberal technocratic class that sees humans as tools to be optimized. And capitalism without empathy is predatory. It commodifies everything, including people and nature. And so it's not human empathy that's the problem. The manipulative leaders without empathy are the problem. And the manipulability of people, because alone the leaders without empathy couldn't do much harm. Elon Musk might be right if he meant that people get manipulated by manipulative leaders because of their empathy. But that doesn't make empathy itself the problem. It means that empathy can be weaponized, especially when people are not protected by the system or by the skills of critical thinking or knowledge, awareness of manipulation tactics. So no political or economic system, communism or capitalism or anything in between, can work without empathy. Justice and peace depend on empathy. And the kind of people who are most drawn to power tend to lack empathy. Power attracts people who crave control, admiration, status. Those are people with narcissistic or Machiavellian traits. And narcissists tend to be charming, manipulative, confident, and those are the qualities that can be mistaken for leadership. So these personalities get to the top, to the positions of power in both capitalist and communist system. So in capitalism, they become billionaires and presidents. In communism or socialism, they become party officials. So yeah, the results cannot be good. It's the power without conscience, without empathy or any moral constraints. So power has to be limited and shared. They say that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, but I think that's not really accurate. I think that some people are already corrupt and they chase power like they need it to survive, and they manipulate their way into leadership. And it's not the power that corrupts them. They were drawn to power because they were already corrupted. Look at someone like Jose Mujica, who recently died. He was the president of Uruguay for many years, and he didn't get corrupted by power. And why? Because he was a good person to begin with. He gave most of his salary away, he lived very simply, and he was a leader with integrity and empathy. And those are the kinds of people we should value and elect for positions of power. Because if the system is built to reward power, control, manipulation, narcissists rise to the top in any system, then the real question isn't which system is better, but which system protects us from the worst in human nature and brings out the best. And social democracy is inherently empathic, while capitalism is inherently dehumanizing. So because we cannot depend on the leaders to be empathic, we need empathy to be embedded in the system and secured by laws.